SKT versus KT Rolster. There's a Shen ban right off the bat. You can't let Someday have that one.
I think this is really wise. We saw Shen bans in 3 of the games by the KOO Tigers during the last playoff match, and SK Telecom, one of the ways CJ beat them was SKT. They want to gank lanes. They do not react well to double global pressure. Take it away.
Sure enough, Fizz banned as well after the Vayne ban from KT Rolster.
Surprising to see Vayne banned against Bang. It is actually quite synonymous with his recent play. Remember, they've been playing with EasyHoon, putting a bang on a champion that can carry makes a lot of sense. When he's with EasyHoon, when he's with this more passive style mid laner, super aggressive Vayne player, but he actually compensates well when Faker starts to draw the aggro, plays a bit more defensive.
A couple interesting bans there. The Evelynn and the Lulu banned out. Looks like it might be a first pick Azir. What do you think, Monty?
Well, they're going to take it away.
So.
60% of the games in the last series, Azir was banned against Nagne. Now the victor is still up, but Azir can put on the pressure early, and that's probably smart. We do see Nagne is 9-2 on Azir, so definitely one of his better champions, but this gives up the Rek'Sai.
9-1 this season, and look, I'd argue that Faker's not even the best Azir player on this squad. He's 3-0 for the season, but EasyHoon, an amazing brother to me. Wow! A
Vi and Braum. Really? I mean, if anyone was going to pick a random Vi, I thought it'd be Bengi. They banned the Evelynn out as well. Thought maybe it was going to be a Rek'Sai.
So let me reason this out. You see Azir, you're expecting Peel for a hypercarry, the likes of a Cotmore. Vayne banned away, obviously, but a champion along those lines, like the Ashe that they're flashing, suddenly, doesn't matter whether you have the Emperor's Divide for Peel. Vi is Assault and Battery, targeted, gonna get right onto the Ashe, and it's still locked in.
I guess so. Will it be the Elise, though? Can they stop this Vi from coming in with that? And before all this, too, Fiora and Gangplank are available. These have been spammed so hard by these guys in solo queue right now. Will we see those picks today?
One of the most interesting stories that people may not know going into this, and there's a LeBlanc in 5:15. That is
whoa.
Okay, this is exciting, Monte Cristo. We already said Vi, excellent backline threat. Remember, all the top laners with backline threat are kind of out the meta. Suddenly, LeBlanc, another champion that led to the rise of champions like Ashe, of backline threats, was the fact that LeBlanc saw so many nerfs. The fact that you couldn't play this assassin that could blow up in a mobile AD carry, and suddenly Ashe, Bang in particular, is looking so exposed on a no-escape champion.
Well, we got some Cloud Templar trolling in there with the Amumu. Now what's the pick really going to be for SK Telecom? Zyra would be pretty good if you throw that ultimate down on top of your carry when the LeBlanc, when the Vi come in, maybe, but I don't think we're going to see that.
It feels like SKT are playing the power picks and KT are playing the counter picks in this draft. They go for Maokai with no top laners picked up. There could be the Fiora, an excellent lane matchup. Acorn showed it for LGD. SKT have the pre-plan, and KT, it almost feels like echoes of MSI Game 5.
Very interesting to see the LeBlanc. You know, the Vi has been played in the LPL playoffs, so that is something that we're seeing, and specifically against these low mobility AD carries, it does make sense. We're going to see what they end up taking last. They've held off, of course. KT likes to counterpick that top lane, and we thought Faker's been playing a lot of Fiora and Gangplank in solo queue. Someday's been playing a lot of Fiora and Gangplank in solo queue. Are these going to be major picks tonight? Someday has his choice right now.
It's strange that right now the top laner on KT and the mid laner on SKT have essentially the same champion pool. That's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of possible crossover.
Where do they go with this last pick? Fizz versus Maokai, obviously the famous pick. It's banned out in this particular draft. The Fiora we saw do great things, but I think they need to pick for comp. They're already all in. Vi's going all in. LeBlanc is going to try and distort all over the face of Ashe. So another champion with backline threat is exactly what you want to see with this last pick.
Yeah, that Gnar could scoop everybody up and make things very easy for KT to take out a vulnerable Ashe. And that's what it's going to be, the Gnar. Locked in. Gonna have to wait for that Fiora Gangplank, I guess.
Taking that favorable matchup, I'm very curious after all the LeBlanc nerfs that came through, whether this is going to be a solid pick. It's worth noting that when LeBlanc was pre-nerf, we did see Nagne play it quite a lot. In fact, he had some very good performances on that particular champion. And in terms of interactions with Azir too, it's worth noting that her distortion, when she moves in, it is a dash, so it can be blocked by the Azir wall. But when she goes back to her starting point, it's a blink, so you can get back over the Azir wall if Faker casts it after the initial dash.
Makes sense. Well, already some pretty crazy picks in game number 1. I did not expect to see that Vi. Braum is interesting as well, too. In the top lane, Marin on the Maokai versus Someday. on the Gnar, someday taking that favorable matchup, like we just said.
Very standard matchup. Gnar has that edge, just being able to freely auto-attack the melee champion.
You got the melee.
But very high sustain coming through from Malka. I want to talk about the jungle, though. Vi versus Elise. We talked in the pregame, you could see in the interviews, unleashing Peekaboo on the map, getting this guy roaming. One of the best ways to do that is a lane swap. And the other thing a lane swap does is it takes pressure off the Vi to make plays in the very early game. You want to hide Vi in the jungle, just like the Sejuani. Okay, she can duel better, but if you can hide her to level 6, so incentivized to get the lane swap is KT Rolster.
Mid lane, Faker on Azir, Nagne on LeBlanc. LeBlanc, of course, not quite as strong as she used to be. Faker's Azir, we'll see how that's going, and bang on Ashe. Corki will be played by Arrow. This Ashe going to be a high priority today, we know about that. Wolf on his famous Alistar, and Peekaboo on Braum. We'll see if he can roam and make some plays. But it is time, guys. Game number 1 of the Grand Finals. The Telecom War begins again right now. SKT versus KT. Let's get in the game. And welcome everyone to Summoner's Rift. This is it, SK Telecom T1 versus KT Rolster. Back again after 2 years. The last time we saw these teams meet in the Grand Finals, it was one of the most epic 5-game sets we've ever seen in League of Legends, and I've got a feeling this match will not disappoint. SKT moving a little bit into the enemy jungle, just trying to get a few wards down early on, it looks like, warding that blue buff.
Super important for both teams to scout out that lane swap. I just mentioned during the pregame that we really see KT pick a lineup that's incentivized for the lane swap. Just go back to the previous series we saw, KT versus KU, the semi-final of this tournament. Game 1, when Peekaboo was anchored into lane, just peeling for his hyper carry, KT looked all at sea. They lost their early invades, they lost their early form, the tempo was gone, and they were easily beaten by the KU Tigers. Game 2, get Peekaboo, increase the leash on this player, let him get out of lane, and suddenly things look so much better for KT Rolster.
And they're going to get that lane swap. They had an early ward close to the turret to see if anyone was entering the brush and on that top side, so we will in fact see the lane swap go through in the end. Ward on the blue buff by SK Telecom right now, on the enemy blue that is. So when this goes through, we have to talk about the Braum, because they first picked Braum and SKT opted to take the Ashe into it, so a lot of burden on Peekaboo to block those arrows in this game.
Just think about the draft. How many times did KT have the answer? They picked the Vi proactively, and still Ashe was opted into it. Maokai is still blind picked. Okay, a big win ratio on this champion, but so susceptible to counter picks. Gone with Gnar for more of the team fight. Certainly not a hard lane counter matchup, but SKT was super confident. They came in pre-planned, and KT, it seems at least in the draft, they had all the answers.
Now, talking about Vi versus Elise here, is Vi the type of jungler rather right now that can actually get into the enemy jungle and duel with Elise early on? You can't find a lot of champions that can do that.
Vi is very strong because of her percent damage that she can deal in the jungle, so it really does make it difficult to duel with Vi. Now, Elise is very strong, but I don't think it's a risk that you necessarily take. And, you know, Vi gets incredibly strong in the late game, not only because of her initiation, but because she can shred tanks.
Right.
Elise is super strong in the duel. I take her every time just because she has targeted abilities. If you miss that Vault Breaker, which you max first in the jungle, in any type of skirmish, you can't get out. You are dead, and you do not have the damage to duel. So avoiding that, and the lane swap does a great job there with this jungle follow. It's a long time into the game till Score is really susceptible to getting 1v1 by Bengi.
Yeah, and we did see a little bit of interesting jungle pathing here by both teams. With the ward down on the KT blue buff by SKT, they bypassed that even though they started jungling on the weak side, went to red and then to enemy blue. So they didn't take any risks right there, made sure they got that, and SKT responded by taking the enemy blue themselves. Marin playing it cautiously. Now they're going to know he's there, but they're going to see Wolf and Bengi, or just Wolf there too.
Probably not going to want to try to dive that. Marin, of course, not teleporting up. Way too dangerous to do that into the lane swap situation when you know that enemy jungler is at your blue buff.
Teleport advantage goes to SKT early. Remember, SKT, their top lane is in the top lane, so he has the teleport open for Dragon, and Dragon Control already there for Someday because he's already in the bottom lane. But if they ever harass Someday out, they'll definitely have that global advantage for the next 4 minutes or so.
Score and Peekaboo really are trying to be this roaming gank squad already, but no such luck finding anyone at the moment. Maybe they'll find Bengi here in a minute or two, but I don't think so.
They're also not going to see that pink ward in the brush, nor clear that out, so a bit of support wars in the top river right now. One ward going down, Trinket from Peekaboo.
Wolf knows that ward is there now at least. Now we have somewhat of a 2v2 in the top lane. Marin and Wolf obviously for SK Telecom. Peekaboo harassing Wolf right away. They can maybe get some damage done with that passive early on, getting that stun. They do poke out Wolf quite a bit.
I do like these lane assignments that we've eventually gotten for SKT, because remember, the solo experience is actually going to Ashe, so it gets her to level 6 earlier, gives them that initiation earlier. Corki and Ashe both scale with levels exceptionally well. Corki for lane pressure with the rocket, and Ashe for that all-in potential, that initiation potential with the arrow. Whoa. Nagne's doing some nice trades. This is such a surreal, bizarro world where in the mid lane, Nagne versus Faker, it's Nagne that needs to be making the aggressive moves because he's on the champion that has that earlier power spike. He's on the lane control champion, and Faker, he's pretty happy to just farm it out till late.
Well, yeah, Nagne's got the ignite and everything too, so the kill pressure definitely against Faker at the moment, which is not something we see a whole lot. Looks like Score may try to come down here. We'll see if Nagne can bait Faker in. And Faker, for all of his over-aggressive tendencies in the mid lane from time to time, I think he's going to try to play this one pretty safely. You don't go over-aggressive with a Nazir against LeBlanc Vi.
He is an aggressive player, though. 25.8% of his team's deaths compared to Nane, just 20%, so 5% difference. Think about how Faker plays when he's ahead. He's always auto-attacking that turret on a champion like Victor. He's always trying to get chip damage, end the laning phase, and roam around. So this is just different for him because he's much more on the defensive lane choice in the Azir. So his mindset at odds with his champion.
Coming in, doing a little bit more damage to Faker. Not a lot of mana, though, so we weren't going to see the all-in quite yet, of course.
Yeah, also that very dangerous possibility. Bengi was just there clearing out his pink ward. Now, SKT, like you're saying, Papa, playing the defensive style is in their interest right now. Honestly, what is going to kill Maokai and Alistar in the late game? It's not going to be Corki. It's probably not going to be LeBlanc unless she gets very fed. There's a very small amount of damage on KT Rolster, and a lot of it is coming in through AP, so the Aegis can just shut it down, and here we
Flash
go.
Cocoon, they get the flash on a Peekaboo as well, too. So jungle flash for support flash. Bengi trying to make a play there.
5v5 team fights will be so interesting just because Ashe is super susceptible to being dove. But then, as you mentioned, KT have no real tank killing potential. They're kind of at the whim of a champion like Maokai, who should live so long during the fight. So I guess just really factoring that in, big incentive for KT to control these objectives, because they fall behind in objectives and have to initiate fights on this team. Gonna be tough.
Bang's got to be a bit careful there. Looks like Score is going to recall unless he cancels it right now. Bang. Safe enough, just pushing up the lane with that volley. Not going to get dove. Marin forced the flash, though. Here comes Arrow. Peekaboo throwing up the shield. He's going in. Marin in a lot of trouble. Twisted vamps back onto Peekaboo. Peekaboo gets low. Oh, he gets out, though. And first blood goes to KT Arrow.
Oh, that is huge. We talked about those first blood stats. They are very in favor of both of these teams to a degree that we don't frequently see, but especially KT, they don't get that first blood. They only win a third of their games. Will that come true here?
It's a very surprising stat. You do wonder how many of those games came from the pre-Peekaboo era, but let's see what happens here in the mid lane.
It's effectively a different team in the second half of the round robin. One best-of-3 loss, of course, to their opponents today. SKT, that was so close. Level 3. It looked like he had a lot of health, but of course the base health is so low. The heal was on point and just lived through it all, did Peekaboo.
Very, very close call, but we do see Peekaboo, of course, helping to make plays like he always does.
Really interesting that Someday is itemizing the cowl first in this. We almost never see that. Most Nars, of course, want to opt into a Hex Drinker matchup and then try and split push for a while. But what this says to me is that KT knows that they're on a clock here. They need to get the tankiness. They need to fight around Dragon now and get team fight stats as soon as possible.
Oh, there's Arrow. Peekaboo blocks it, still gets stunned. Going to take some damage, knocked right back into Bang, right into the Cocoon. Teleport's coming up for KT, but they can't save Peekaboo. Repel. Will it allow Bengi to live? Maybe. No, taking so much damage. Arrow with his second kill of the game already at about 9 minutes. A kill on each side. But KT coming in with a bit of an edge here on Dragon.
And you'll take that every time. Score level 6 now. They're waiting to see if they can get some sort of play off. But no, SKT not going to take that. No Dragon attempt from KT, still a little bit risky.
And Arrow, he's definitely ahead of the curve. Maybe he can pick up an Infinity Edge and do some damage to tanks. He's 2-0 and now has red buff as well. And suddenly, bang, even over-leveled, even with the situation that he's been in this game, he has to play from behind.
It did show a bit of the danger that Ashe presents, of course. I mean, even throwing up that shield, Peekaboo got stunned, he got killed. KT really needs to be careful. If that arrow would hit, well, arrow later in the game, it would not be very good for the AD carry.
One thing about Someday was the Gnar bar was absolutely perfect. Comes in the Mega Gnar form, has plenty of time to do work, so that was a great TP call from KT. I was a little bit nervous when I saw the TP coming in, but as soon as I saw him in Mega Gnar, all that just melted away.
Score is going for the Warrior enchant this game, definitely going for the offensive build path, trying to pick up some of the damage slack from the likes of Arrow, at least in the mid game. Seeing nice little duel up top, but Score, the one thing you can say is can't really itemize that early Sightstone in this matchup as much as Faker.
Oh, Nagne, a lot of damage onto Faker there. Got to be careful. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Peekaboo and Arrow getting pretty aggressive. Bang's got his ultimate back up. The Score was right there, though, so trying to bait in all in.
Awkward.
Misfire by Someday on that ultimate
needs to
on the
run.
top side. He's got to get out.
He hops away, should be able to make it out. He will. Meanwhile, more dueling. Such an aggressive laning phase here. They're going to go in. Whoa! Big combo onto Bang, Assault and Battery, and Arrow. That's his third kill. Already, KT is taking apart SKT.
And it's a preview of late game team fights. Everyone getting in there on the immobile AD carry. Ashe used both summoners as well. It's going to be hard to navigate these fights if you're Bang.
That was just a beautiful gank by Score, Arrow, and Peekaboo down to the bot lane. CC was pretty perfect. Bang legitimately had no chance.
Well, that's what happens against Vi a lot of the time. And
Yep.
But they opted into it, Monty. They saw the Vi, a first round Vi, and they still lock in the Ashe. We knew Ashe would be a premium pick in this series, but at some point you have to make up for the fact that KT have obviously accounted for an Ashe pick.
Did it seem a bit too much like SKT approached this draft from, this is our draft and we're sticking to it?
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. I think they did. I think they wanted to shut down the Azir, which has been Nagne's most dangerous pick, and they wanted to take away the Ashe because that's what Arrow played in the blind pick, and he and Peekaboo with that Ashe Leona lane just went to town against Ku.
Here's a simple fact. SKT blind picked their top laner, blind picked their mid laner, and blind picked their AD carry in this draft.
Pretty bold. Pretty bold. And SKT is certainly starting to pay for it. Looks like things are heating up around Dragon for the moment anyway.
And Ashe, the emergency build is real. Berserker Greaves, pickaxe, and an Avarice Blade. Say goodbye to damage anytime in the next 15 minutes.
Well, I mean, at this point, Bang is he's an ult bot, right? He's got to hit with the arrow, get the stun, and try to get SKT kills that way. Maybe Faker can start carrying out this Azir.
Well, who's going to follow it up, though, with more damage is the question.
That's
Faker
the tricky part.
has the Nashers, but meanwhile, Nagne decided to not quite complete his Morello Nomicon and just head straight into a needlessly large rod. Looks like he had a large chunk of change when he backed and just went for the flat damage.
The Runeglaive is picked up by Elise, so it's going to be a damage shot. Now, of course, that is at the price of tankiness, specifically when the next health items are complete, but bit of decent mid-game damage from Bang.
Yeah. Score's ultimate just barely not up, and you got to wonder if he would have maybe gone for that. Faker a little bit out of position there before getting back to lane. KT seems to have the angle onto Dragon for the moment, but backing up, and SKT still has some decent wards around the Dragon Pit as well, so still no Dragon. It's getting to be a late one.
Well, SKT delaying this Dragon is very important for them. They still are in this game just because we will see KT's composition fall off, and they're just going to take a mid lane right now.
Man, that turret died very, very quickly, and that gives SKT the turret lead. And like you said, man, I mean, SK or KT needs to make something happen now, and killing Faker might be it. But no, Nagne backing up. Still has not popped that Ignite all game.
And this is the new Azir, of course, the new age Azir with the Nashor's Tooth. It was already a matchup where Azir could just plop down the W, has the auto attack and attack speed to take down your turret, but the LeBlanc Azir matchups change even more now that your turret, unless you're rotating multiple members to relieve pressure, will die instantly if the likes of Elise or Alistar enter a lane against a LeBlanc.
Yeah, more action up in the top lane as the tanks fight for a moment and then run away from each other. That's the top lane, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like this Azir turret's going to get taken out pretty soon. And SKT down in gold slightly, but they're delaying. They're surviving, and that's what they need to do.
Now, they were surviving from the draft phase when they gave basically 3 counter picks over to KT. It's all on Faker once again to create the pressure of multiple men. Because look at the difference between his AD carries. Nothing completed from Bang compared to Trinity Force and a lifesteal pickup from Arrow. He's so far ahead of Ash.
Certainly is a bit worrisome.
And
SK Telecom.
Yeah, well, KT, they need to keep putting on the pressure right here. The fact that they lost their main turret means that they lost a lot of dragon control, but they have to start fighting now. This is when they're strong. Fight now. Group, try and take a dragon, force them into an engagement, because someday, sure, he can farm up in this top side, but he is not opting into a split push build here, so he's going to be most useful with the rest of his team, especially since his magic resist build is super efficient right now because of how far behind Bang is.
I really am wondering, like, what is stopping KT from going for this dragon? Maybe they finally are here.
I mean, the one thing that strums through is the item build. When you go Warrior and Chat, when you get the later sight zone, we haven't seen the division.
Dragon being taken. SKT comes in. Can they just take it this way? Who's going to get it? Who's going to get it? SKT takes the first dragon. KT just giving it over. Marin teleports down. Someday Zera Meganar. No angle for the ultimate, though. Trying to come in. There's a 3-man ult. Big stun, but where's the follow-up? Ember's Divide used immediately. Nagne coming to the side. Destroys Bang. And SKT got the dragon, but they're on the run now. Kill on each side. Baker gets one. Nice flash knockup from Wolf. Arrow's gonna get taken out. The double kill for Nagne. Meanwhile, onto Faker, and they're trading fairly evenly. And looks like that's gonna be all it is unless they can track down Nagne, trying to find him in this red buff pit.
I got to be really careful about this. He has a lot of damage already to this point of the game. Can he evade Wolf for long enough?
Execute. Will he get it? One more hit. He's running, man. He thinks he can just get away. Operation Get Nagne is in action. Here comes Bengi. It's the great Nagne chase 2015. Bengi trying to head him off the pass here, but Nagne ducking back towards that dragon to come over the wall. Will he? No, goes back to the turret. I think execution is the only answer. Wow, Nagne just not giving up. Ash is coming. Will the arrow come in? There's the volley. They get him. He took some damage to the turret and Bang finally gets the kill. Nagne, you could have just died to the turret, man. You gave Bang a kill.
He thought he could get out of that one, obviously, but with the mobility boots on the Alistar, let's take a look at that team fight again. Now, it looks good for KT because someday it was in a perfect place, but they lock him up immediately.
The Arrow with full health, full mana, and nobody really on top of him, just couldn't put out the damage this fight. It was really unorganized. LeBlanc on one side of the fight, Arrow just completely getting occupied by the likes of Elise, Alistar, and Maokai, who made the difference between AD carries a complete non-factor.
Wow, and man, Faker nearly took out Nagne there, and yeah, Faker really did work on that Azir in that fight too. Helped poke down Arrow, got himself a kill as well. So all in all, things very even. SK Telecom with even a small lead after that.
You really have to like that for SKT. The fact that they were able to take a dragon in that situation early against KT that had hit those early power spikes is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
How does this KT comp work? It's about getting picks. It's got the Vi ultimate targeted engage. Obviously, excellent follow-up as the Arrow.
Arrow onto Someday. Someday trying to get away. Here comes Wolf. Can they get the 2v1? Elise coming down as well. Someday in big trouble. He's out of there. Another kill for Bang. And SKT, they're not just surviving anymore. They're starting to thrive. And if you are KT, you can't allow that. Marin desperately trying to save his turret. I think you might have to let this one go, buddy. Well, keeps it for now.
He's going to get the stun off, but that's not going to do a whole lot. They will trade 1-for-1 in turrets more than likely. Well, KT looks like they're going to have to wait a long time for a wave, but Someday getting a bit overzealous. Here we go, all in.
Baker 1v2 at the moment. Nagne trying to do some damage. Which one is the right one? Pickaboo comes in, goes for the knockup. Marin gets the kill after TPing down to help out his mid laner.
Nagne made a big mechanical error, tried to distort over Empress Divide, missed out on the damage of the Mimic as well. Just didn't have the damage to burst down Faker, and the turret pushing will continue.
It's all starting to fall apart for KT now. Are they actually going to go into the base? No, it's not that much of a crazy time yet. Take the turrets. You've got a big lead at the moment. Scoring Pickaboo, trying to make a play into Bengi. Not going to find one there.
How did this team, who 5 minutes ago had such a mismatch between AD carries, not much control of the map, suddenly it feels like even the Raptors and Wolves are too far for KT to overextend into their own jungle.
Just a huge vision advantage for SKT2. And You know, this is classic SKT. What are they doing right now? They're splitting up. They're so good at controlling minion waves to put simultaneous pressure on the map. They trade objectives really well. They hung in there in spite of a punishing difference from the KT arrows early, and I think that KT played too scared. They didn't want to push their advantage hard enough when they had it.
You really got to go back to that moment where KT had a good chance to at least start a dragon fight. They didn't do it. Let's watch this play here on the Nagne.
First the distortions cancel. Wait for the mimic as well, cancelled by the Emperor's Divide. That's so much damage completely taken away from Nagne and just assassinated by, of all people, Maokai.
Well, Maokai also had TP advantage there, so they tried to make a play. Instant reaction from Marin.
Marin said he'd lock up the Maokai whenever it's available. We talked about his win rate in the pregame, and it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, 22 games in a row. He has won with that Maokai, and that's a pretty long win rate, man. That is over a season that he has not lost with this champion yet.
Well, and he's 24-1 all time on this champion. It is really his signature pickup alongside that Rumble.
What does it say about a draft if SKT are willing to blind pick all their lanes and still come out the comfortable victors? It feels like KT drafted a comp that dealt very well with SKTs. They executed well for a few minutes, but they just didn't seem to have the proficiency with this type of pick comp to actually get it through after the baby steps of the game.
Well, this is kind of like some of the old issues for KT kind of rearing their ugly head again, right? They've always had a good draft, even when they couldn't win a game to save their life, but right now, good draft, can't seem to execute.
Now Someday builds the Hex Drinker. So this is them really switching gears right now. They've decided they can't really do anything in those team fights anymore. They want to try and play against Marin, but that is going to be a hard split push to manage.
And items show you the mindset of a team. The reason he built Spectre's Cow first, they already had that big advantage on Corki. Group up, take the dragons. You've got the extra health and magic resist to deal with someone like Faker in a team fight, with someone like Elise. And now suddenly, they realize that objective's kind of a forlorn hope, and they're going for this split push build after Maokai is already so strong.
All right, about 6 seconds until Dragon comes up again. SKT with a ton of vision. Is there any way? Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a way KT can stop it, but they kind of have to fight this at this point, don't they? Whoa. Maybe they were going to go for it. Well, Marin going in on the score. Their score could be a little bit of trouble. Marin taking a lot of damage. Wolf looking for an angle. Bang just throwing in that volley. Bengi there as well, too. Knock up onto Sunday. Still pretty tanky, but he's not going to be Mega for a little while yet. Nagne with some damage on the Faker over the side of the wall there. And they force Nagne away. So SKT with the 5v4 advantage, and they can just turn right onto this Dragon.
Pretty telling story when Faker's just opened up himself to a LeBlanc and wins a damage trade against that snowball assassin. You look at KT's lineup, you think, okay, Vi can initiate, LeBlanc can get picks, but that's only really if you have the likes of a vision advantage, because in the long lane, you ult a backline carrier's Vi with just a warrior enchant and a Spectre's Cowl. You're just going to die instantly. You're not tanky enough for that. And without the vision control, a lot of KT's comp kind of falls apart.
And in the late game, too, with Score occupying that role as the primary engage on the team, he really actually does need a Randuin's Omen just to follow up.
Banshee Veil, Randuin's Omen, be very nice, but it's not coming anytime soon.
Well, yeah, it'd be great, but you need it to just slow up the other members of the team, because otherwise you only have that single target engage and no one else really cares if Vi is back there.
Nagne slowly pushing this mid lane up right now. Scores like any oh, it's already gone. Of course it's gone, Score. You have a dragonless situation on your hands, but at least they can give the blue buff over to Nagne anyway.
So Arrow, of course, was snowballed early. He's gone for the Bloodthirster, which is his trademark build, but it's kind of a no damage build, guys. It's not in the late game, especially. These two items together are really about poke around a turret, but they're not really going to be poking. They don't have any initiation to pair with that poke, especially under a turret. Vi is not ulting someone under a turret against the like of the Ashe, Elise, Maokai. So don't really know what this build's going to accomplish, and Bang out of nowhere, pretty healthy in his item build, especially given where he was, what, 12 minutes ago?
Yeah, well, I mean, you give an Ashe 2 kills and 3 assists and some turret gold. That certainly seems to help a little bit, doesn't it? He is still down about 25 CS at the moment, about 30 CS. But when you get those kills, you turn things right around.
Battle for Baron Vision is beginning. Bang going to take a couple big shots right there. Have to be careful. Still early in this game. Ashe is only level 12. And They're not going to really be able to bait this very effectively, SK Telecom, at this point. But remember, the strength of Ashe is that engage out of the black.
That's the thing, is that from nowhere you can get hit by that Ashe arrow. And that can be from across the map. So Bang going back doesn't really even give KT a chance to try to sneak the Baron away or anything.
So Ashe is being picked for the initiation for a lot of things in terms of CC kit, but the initiation is the big thing to bring from a backline AD carry. What's the way you play around something like the Ashe is you get deep vision, and that's one of KT's normal big wing conditions.
Oh, right into the cocoon. Bengi with a great cocoon. Will Nagne get away? He will, but just barely. Wow, Bengi was so ready with that. Arrow just misses. I can't believe Nagne dodged that too.
Checked him with the hawk shot and then was able to get out of the way in the nick of time. Nagne didn't have to use his flash right there. You can see KT getting desperate to make picks.
They got no wave clear, Monte Cristo. It's LeBlanc mid. It's Corki who has a decent amount of poke, but at the same time, Marin is split pushing, and the push train continues.
Yeah, KT falling farther and farther behind. 6,000 gold down now. 3 turrets down. They need to win.
A different game where Score could get that aggressive vision, where suddenly you had vision on Ashe in the background, where you could invade, which of course, that's what KT is all about. They're about getting aggressive vision on camps and then counter jungling with that roam duo of Peekaboo and Score. But Score going for this Warrior Enchant, delaying any sort of Sightstone. Even if you're going Warrior Enchant, it just feels like Sightstone is so core to the win conditions of KT as a team. And skipping out that item, they missed that crucial point at 13, 12 minutes where they needed to start monopolizing this dragon, not be sitting at a 2-0 dragon disadvantage at 25 minutes with a pick comp.
Pretty much. And SKT closing this one out patiently, methodically. They've got the late game power. They have no reason to rush towards the end of this game.
Well, one thing about KT is that they are tenacious. They really do have a never say die attitude, and we've seen them come back in the most unlikely situations this season. They've been able to pull wins out of having 3 inhibitors down, being on their base, and in situations that I didn't think it was possible. But a lot of these situations, they also had some big late game threats to make up for the fact that they were bottled up in their base. This time, unless Nagne is able to get a series of miracle picks, it just doesn't seem that likely.
How do you get them, Monte Cristo, against all the wards that come out from double Sightstone and improved warding totem? Honestly, and this sounds almost crazy to me, you need what, 3-4 improved sweepers? Green wards in your inventory, and just try and force a vision mismatch. Because if there's equal vision or an advantage in vision to SKT, the picks are just so tough to pull off.
Pretty much. KT warding their own jungle a little bit more again, but I think he's going to clear one of them out, or not. Deciding it's a bit too dangerous. And with Dragon coming up in a minute, that's not the time you want to get caught.
Just trying to play defensively while they try and build up a bit of a gold bank here, but Faker has kept that mid tower at such an extremely high level of HP for 27 minutes into this game that Marin's Gnar not going to be able to do much to it, and certainly not going to be able to take it out. Score using that Vault Breaker, but has to back off, gets a little scared when he sees that ward inside the red pit.
I think I would too.
Push continues, coming back to the idea of sweepers, still doesn't work that well against SKT because they've got uncleansable, unclearable vision in terms of the Hawk Shot from Ashe, who now has 2 charges. They've even got the Saplings for some temporary wards. Getting a situation where you have vision blanketing, it was possible when Bang was so far out of this game that he couldn't really even group this team is so weak.
Oh,
that's
Ashe
an arrow.
Totally whiffs there. They didn't hit anybody with it. SKT, does the fact that that ult is down for a little bit give KT a chance here? Are they going to try to engage on that? Because if they're going to do it, they need to do it fast. The Ashe arrow has a very short cooldown.
We may see them try and take a fight here.
Yeah.
As a result of that cooldown.
I think if you don't do it now, when do you do it?
Try and get a pick, that's about it. They're going to actually just try and push for the mid lane.
Ah, okay. Yep, charging down the mid lane. They give SK Telecom their 3rd dragon. They do take a turret. In response, will SKT come from the side? Peekaboo takes some damage. Here we go. Are they going to go in? Marin goes deep. Faker in a lot of trouble, though. Gets it with the Assaulted Battery. Pushes people away with that Emperor's Divine. Very patient use on that one. Goodbye, Nagne. A kill for Marin and Bang. Untouched in the back. Going after everyone. Goodbye, Peekaboo. A double kill for Marin. Wolf trying to find more plays to make. Someday finally hits Mega Gnar right before he's taken out by Faker. And it looks like this is going to be an ace. And this is almost certainly going to be the final nail in the coffin for KT Rolster.
It's too late. There's no one who can kill Marin right now. Marin just had a free twisted advance, didn't even have to flash for it to get onto Nagne at the start of that fight. And as soon as Nagne's locked down, Marin just walks through the rest of the team with impunity. There's simply not enough damage on KT to take fights from this point forward.
You think taking down Marin's a problem. Wait till you see what Faker tanks in the backline when everyone uses all their abilities onto Faker. He lives, push people away, even gets the exit kill onto Nagne. They can't even kill Faker when they choose him as the priority. And as you mentioned, the damage is just not there to kill this tanky front line.
You know, it almost seemed like Faker went around there to draw in the assault and battery because he knew he could push everybody right into SK Telecom's clutches right after it ended.
And if you have to choose one, you're going to definitely choose the Azir to be the one to actually take all that CC because he has that defensive utility. Yeah. If Bang is avoiding the likes of the Vi, the likes of the LeBlanc, job done for Faker, job done for SKT.
Yeah, aside from the early ganks, Bang has been untouched. It shows.
Well, this is also one of those things that happens against SK Telecom. We saw it at that first Dragon fight. We've seen it throughout this game. They are looking for angles on Faker, and this is... we do see a little bit of scrapping
How
here.
How tanky is he?
Very, very tanky, but is he 4v1 tanky? I don't know about that. Mengi trying to save his top laner. Bang trying as well. They're going to keep him alive. Bang goes deep. Never mind. Knockup on the score there. Not going to make it out. And Marin, how tanky is he? Well, he is 4v1 tanky right now. That's how tanky he is. Faker, in the meantime, takes out the Krugs. He's going for the top lane turret as well.
Well, these fights, Marin's going to kill him.
Yeah, I think he will. There's the ultimate. Sapling.
Oh, he got him.
Oh, nice play by Nagne.
Wow, actually,
that one.
Dangerous game right there, helping out.
Certainly did, but it won't help save that inhibitor, I think. Oh, wait, Marin did kill him somehow. Sapling, perhaps? We'll have to go back
from the grave?
I think so. We'll have to go back and see the replay. Either way, SK Telecom takes out their first inhibitor. They're going for their second. Sapling from the grave. It wasn't even the right skin for that, Marin. Faker is completely unafraid of this entire team now.
I think Marin has aggressive positioning. Faker's opting into plenty of aggression from KT.
We talk about Peekaboo being unleashed, but now Faker's unleashed, man. Oh,
there we go.
There we go. Emperor's Vi. Push the score in. Vi, are you coming for Azir? Is that what you're supposed to do? Well, guess what? Azir is coming for you.
Wow, that was so perfectly done. Just the knock-up from the wall straight into the pulverize, and SK Telecom just plowing forward in this game. There's the TP from Marin.
It's over. Marin TP's in to help secure this victory as the Nexus goes down, and despite a strong start from KT in the early minutes of that game, SKT will take the early lead. GG.
The question we asked in the draft is, can SKT get away with a greedy draft, blind picking 3 of their lanes? The answer is an emphatic yes.
Well, the answer, I think, is an emphatic once. Because that game really could have gone the other way based on those early kills.
If KT opted into those specific builds, though, and they didn't play it out properly. If you want to get those kills onto Corki and then build the Gnar tank, you have to group early. You have to play aggressively around that dragon, and they've just failed to do that until it was a little bit too late. But a lot of credit. I was saying before we got into the end of that game that look at how much aggression Faker absorbs every single fight. LeBlanc and Vi are trying to get onto him, almost ignoring the Ashe, and I don't think you do that. I think you just have to go for the Ashe, who is less defensive. Faker built the Rylai's to have some more HP and defensive statistics, and they could never actually kill the Azir. So people tunnel on Faker because he is so good, and you know what a threat he is, but that game, I think you just keep on trying to pick off the weakened Ashe.
I agree. So SK Telecom with that early lead, and KT coming up with some creative stuff. We'll see what they have for game number 2. We're a long ways from over, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back for SKT versus KT here on the OGN Champions Summer Finals right after this.